Hello guys, it is Creative Theories here, and the Riverdale mid-season finale for Season 5 has finally arrived, which means we're not going to be getting any new Riverdale content till July at the earliest, which is a good or bad thing depending on how you look at it. Personally, I'm not really sure what to take of this season so far. The resolution of the VHS tape seemed a bit too simple, and the 7-year time jump was meant to be like so exciting, but currently nothing is interesting me at all, and don't even get me started on the fact that Hiram Lodge is the villain again. Like, come on, how many times has this happened? From Season 2, and technically he was involved slightly in Season 1, even if he wasn't on screen, so unsurprisingly, as each episode came along, nothing was really interesting me. But luckily, the final episode wasn't actually that bad, by far one of the best in the season, but still nothing compared to the heights of the previous seasons that we've got. And the big cliffhanger event that happened in this episode is Hiram allowed the prisoners to be broken out of jail, and that Jughead has supposedly gone missing. So I thought today we'd try and hope that the show might still have some fire in it by theorizing what actually happened to Jughead and where basically has he gone. And let's hope it's a good answer, because otherwise I don't really know what the show's got going for it anymore. But before we go any further, please make sure that you've hit that red subscribe button down below and have your notifications turned on so that you get notified every time we make brand new Riverdale content. So, Jughead's story arc, you could say, so far in Season 5 is he's trying to write a new story about the town of Riverdale, and through his research he's discovered the tales of the alien race, the Mothman, which, to be honest, I'm not really surprised in the slightest that Riverdale has finally added some form of aliens into the mix. Like, I don't think you can tell me that the show was about a boy who was found murdered by the river where high school students have to find out who the killer is, to now a show about adults returning to their school to save their childhood town from an evil man who wants to make the town worthless so he can get rich, and the town is also being overtaken by alien Mothmen. Like, how on earth have we got here from Season 1? With that aside, the last episode saw Jughead hit writer's block, so he decided to ingest some maple mushrooms in hope that he would overcome his writer's block and produce a story worthy of submitting to his agent, as the last time he took these drugs he apparently wrote over 500 pages worth, which, to be honest, is actually one of the most believable things this show still has going for it, even if it sounds impossible. And to make sure Jughead kept focused, Tabitha agreed to help him so she could check up on him regularly as he was writing it in the bunker with a bunch of candles lit around him, so she was basically concerned for his safety. Later on in the episode, Tabitha returns and Jughead was high in these maple mushrooms and not really concentrating, so to make sure that he did, she handcuffed him to his table so he was forced to write. Jughead then began hallucinating, and he visioned that his two ex-girlfriends, Jess and Betty, go by his side, and Betty unhandcuffs him in the vision. During this hallucination, he visions Betty making out with him and sees a rat running along the floor, a subway train coming into the bunker, and the so-called Mothman the series has been building up to. He then wakes up, confused about what happened, and sees a bright white light in the entrance of the bunker, reminiscent of an alien ship beam. However, when Tabitha returned in the morning, she comes back to find blood all over the floor and on the handcuffs, with Jughead nowhere to be seen. This could suggest Jughead either escaped the handcuffs as seen in the hallucination, or was taken by something with his hands either intact or not, as the handcuffs are still locked by the end when Tabitha returns. So the big question is, what actually happened to Jughead? So the most obvious answer is Jughead was so high that he was stupid enough to break his hand out of the handcuffs and walk out of the bunker. We see at the end of his hallucination the bright light coming from the entrance of the bunker, and we see Jughead visioning a Mothman. To write more, we know Jughead likes to actually go to places and do his research properly before he begins writing a story. So maybe the maple mushrooms just gave him these visions of the Mothmen and the light, so Jughead decided to follow it so that he can find more writing for his book, and he ends up going out of the bunker to the forest. But in the process of escaping, he cut his hand when getting out of the handcuffs, which would explain the blood. Now, this is probably the most likely, however, it would make the cliffhanger pretty lame, as it would have literally only been put there because it's the 10th episode of the season, as if he's just found in the forest in the next episode, it's just going to be pretty anticlimactic. Another option is Hiram Lodge and his team took Jughead out and captured him. Jughead and Hiram have never really had any proper encounters before, so they're not really as such enemies, compared to like the other characters, but since Jughead is trying to help the town, maybe Hiram has just decided to take Jughead out to stop the others. It's unlikely, but could be very possible. Now, the other main plot of this episode is Hiram broke out the prisoners from jail, and we did see a lot of prisoners returning to the family, such as Archie's uncle and Penelope Blossom. So, with Jughead under drugs, a prisoner could have easily taken advantage of him while he was hallucinating, most likely one of Jughead's old enemies, which we know he's made a lot of over the past few seasons. It wouldn't be Charles or Chick simply because they go back to the Coopers and we know what happens to them, but Jughead was the head of the Serpents throughout a few seasons, and we know from seasons such as Season 2 and Season 3 that he did make a lot of enemies with the Serpents, and from Tony and the others we know that his book isn't on the Serpents' good side currently, so if any of them got out of prison they may want to go and have a head-on with Jughead. Not to mention, his dad was the sheriff and probably arrested several people who are in that prison, so they could easily just be coming to get Jughead simply for revenge. And another possibility could be the debt collectors from the first episode we saw Jughead in. Throughout the season, Jughead has had to be hiding as he hasn't got the money to pay them back, so they could easily have came to the bunker, found him, taken him out because he hasn't paid them. But of course, the big question everyone is asking is, did the Mothman take him? In his hallucination, we did see what the Mothman actually looks like, and we saw the white light as well as a subway headlight, which were all seen before when Pops encountered the strange lights, and when Jughead did as well. And the fact that Nana Rose gave Jughead and Tabitha a dead Mothman she's encountered before, it would make sense that maybe these Mothmen might be real. Now, I wouldn't put it past Riverdale to actually have aliens in it, and Jughead has literally been abducted here, but I would have thought maybe that it's just slightly too far for this show. Considering we have had something like the Mothman before in the show, being the Gargoyle King, who was all just Chick in a suit, I reckon a similar thing could be happening here, but Jughead just believes they're real Mothmen as he is under the influence of the maple mushrooms. I reckon these Mothmen are just people pretending to scare others, and they're probably linked to Betty's so-called trash bag killer, just so that the stories can be intertwined later on in the season. Since Jughead did imagine the Mothman, I reckon whoever is behind the Mothman worried that Jughead was about to write about them and put them out to the world, so they acted quickly and made sure to take Jughead away. They might have even used a similar powder to the one Donna blew in Betty's face when she framed Betty for Jughead's supposed death, as both Betty's reaction of finding the rock in her hand in Season 4 and Jughead's reaction of seeing the Mothman and the white light in the bunker are very similar and show confusion and a loss of time. But anyway guys, that is our list for who we think might have taken Jughead and what actually happened to him. If you did enjoy this video, please make sure that you smash that like button down below and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And let us know down below in the comments which of our suggestions that we've mentioned here do you think is most likely as to the answer of why Jughead has gone missing. Or if you have any other ideas of what it might be, make sure you let us know down below in the comments. Do you think Jughead just went out himself because he was hallucinating? Do you think it might have been Hiram Lodge? Do you think it's one of the prisoners? Do you think it's someone who we don't know yet, or do you think it's these famous Mothmen who clearly the show's going to delve into? My word, if we do get aliens in this show, I just think I don't really know what to take of this show anymore. But anyway guys, I hope you have enjoyed this video, and as always, we've been here on Gate of Theories. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.